Open the meeting in accordance with the. Just wait for the live stream to be set up. In accordance with the Local Government Meetings Procedure Regulation 2015, public is advised that proceedings of the meeting of council will be recorded on digital media to assist in the preparation of the minutes and to ensure that a true and accurate account of debate and discussions of the meeting is available. Acknowledgement of the country. West Coast Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 234 is a record of attendance and apologies. Have we got any apologies? No apologies. Item 235, peculiar interest. If any councillors have a peculiar interest in any item on the agenda, may do so now or at the time of the item on the agenda. Peculiar interest. Keep moving. Item 236 is confirmation of the minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the West Coast Council held at the West Coast Council Chambers, 11 Stitch Street, Queenstown, on Tuesday, 26th of July 2022, a copy of which having been previously circulated to council prior to the meeting be confirmed as true and accurate record. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Evans, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 237 is public participation and question time. We've got no one in the gallery, but I think we have a question from a resident. General Manager.
Got a series of questions on cats, I would say, from Kerry Lafer, representing Animal Welfare Centre Incorporated in the Zeehan community. The questions are: does council check trapped cats for microchips? Can the public reclaim their desexed cats? If so, how long does the council house desexed cats? How does the public know if their desexed cat has been trapped, and how does council euthanize the caught cats? You able to answer?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Council does check trapped cats when we are running our programs for microchips. We bought a specific microchip checker for feral cats, so you actually don't have to get close to the cat with your hands. So yes, we do. Question 2, can the public reclaim their desexed cats? The only cats that will be returned through the cat management program are those that are microchipped. It's not so much if it's desexed, it's if the animal is microchipped. We also check for signs of an animal being domesticated, and that is quite obvious. You can tell the difference between a feral and just an escaped cat. The third question, if so, how long does council house desexed cats? Well, we don't house the cats. If it was microchipped and we could trace the owner, we would return that directly to its owner. We don't have the facility to house cats, and in the situation if we had one that was microchipped, we couldn't locate the owner, we would attempt to get that to the cat management facility for them to house and try and track the owner.
So there was a couple of other questions added. How would the public know if their desexed cat had been trapped? And I think it would only be if it was microchipped or it had some other mark of ownership.
A collar or signs of it being a domestic.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would be transported to the cat.
If it was microchipped,
Yeah.
if we couldn't locate the owner.
And the final question was, how does council euthanize the caught cats? Council has the ability to use a range of means, but primarily we would use firearms as our first means of euthanizing feral cats.
And that is done humanely by staff.
Thank you, Alison, General Manager. Okay. Item 238 is council raised issue and information. We've got questions without notice.
Yep.
And, Sorry, where are we at? No, questions on notice. Sorry, first, we have no questions on notice. A question without notice.
Yes, through you, Mayor, I've got 3 questions without notice. First one is on page 71 of the agenda, the Minister for the State Development, Construction and Housing. In his letter, the Honourable Guy Barnett states that he would like to work with us so that council can contribute more of its housing stock for addressing homelessness crisis. Will council now be willing to reverse its in-principle decision of gradually selling off the council-owned housing stock that the families living in those homes are in order to address the homelessness crisis?
In reply to that, councillor, the letter that the Honourable Guy Barnett was to local government, not just to West Coast Council, so he's going to work with local government. At the moment, we haven't made any decisions on any of the families living in homes. That will come to council on an individual basis, and decisions will be made individually on the proposals. The only proposal we've had so far is empty houses that we've got, which will be going to, I think there was Oka Health may be interested in also a daycare. So
Yeah, so council's only made a decision so far on provision of those 2 places in Zeehan to family coastal daycare.
Yeah.
And future ones would come to council like that.
Right, excellent. Thank you very much for your answer. Through you, Mayor, on page 82 of the agenda, there's a letter that you wrote to Miss Ann Thompson that you'd be discussing the Let's Bay Jetty matter with relevant state ministers. Could you provide an update on this important and significant heritage matter?
yes, so I've spoken to the Minister for Heritage with regard to that, and she was quite receptive with regard to the Let's Bay jetties, and we'll be discussing that with her counterpart, the Minister for Parks, in due course, and she was going to write a supportive letter with regard to that. She further went on to say that the Heritage have no money and they to commit to this worthwhile cause at this stage, but she's willing to investigate any national funding that may be available with regard to heritage. I've also spoken to the Minister of Parks by phone. He is reviewing the letter that we received from the Assistant Secretary of Parks and also the engineer's report. So I had a fairly lengthy discussion about the letter that we submitted to the Parks General Manager with regard to the Let's Bay jetties. So he's going to look at that and the engineer's report and give us some feedback on where he thinks that this could move into the future. So no commitment at this stage, but the commitment is that he will review the engineer's report and also look at options available.
Excellent. Thank you for your answer, Mayor. Through you, Mayor, could you please provide an update in relation to the installation of the First Nations and Torres Strait Islander flag, which I understand is currently being, or has been considered under the Reconciliation Action Plan?
Yeah. So there is a Aboriginal and Torres Strait First Islander flag installed in council chambers, along with the Australian flag and West Coast Council flag. The reconciliation plan is not finalised, and the drafting group is not even at the point of deciding on actions. So currently, the West Coast Council doesn't have a reconciliation action plan. Working group is working on that, but it's not finalised at this stage.
Thank you.
Okay.
So just another question from here.
That's fine.
So just a question through June. Just relating to roadworks in Strawn, is there any future plans for roadworks between Anzac Park and Gallop Point to improve that road surface?
There are no current plans. We do know it's an area that we need to look at. The work on that road will be extensive, so it's one of the ones we have in the list to do design and investigative work on. In Strawn, we have been focused on the West Strawn precinct. It's fair to say, as we start to get through some of that design work, it would be a key priority in future years for design. But the actual project to rectify that road will be quite complicated and expensive, as it involves significant reshaping of the road and significant drainage works. Anything to add on that, Scott?
Yeah, it's major reconstruction through the whole area. Surveying has been done for future work, so once council decides that we're ready to tackle that one, we've made a head start.
And that second question, which I think is similar to Councillor Ryan's sites, is that was to provide an update when the flag post on Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders will be installed around across the road.
Yeah, so there hasn't been any decision that that's an action under the Reconciliation Action Plan. Of course, if it was, I would still need to come back to council and ask for funding. That would be the process that needs to go through. Currently, there's no funding allocated in the capital works budget to install the flag post.
And I guess just furthermore than that, it will be something which we'll have to wait till the Reconciliation Action Plan is completed before we undertake any of that works anyway. Okay, we've got a late item for 23822, which is the letter that the General Manager sent to Ms. Casteries regarding the petition. I don't think we've received any confirmation back with regard to that at this stage.
No, not at this stage.
Okay. Item 239 is Mayor and Councillor Dorries and Communications. It's for noting, Council resolved that the Mayor and Councillor Dorries and Communication as presented be noted. Any discussion on any of them points? No discussion. Keep moving then. Item 240 is for noting also the Council resolved to note the following workshops were conducted by Council since the last ordinary meeting. So we had a local government reform workshop on the 28th of July, and today bachelor's construction information on the landfill site, and also UTAS research on FIFO and Dido on the west coast. Any discussions on them matters? No. Item 241, Council's decision status reports and action item list. The Council resolved that the status report action item of open council meetings decision be received. Any discussions on any of them points on that table? No. No discussion. Item 242, Committees of Council report and recommendation. For noting, Council resolved that the Council Committee report as presented be noted. So we've got a report from the Emergency Management Committee, highlights for the month of July, and also education and training with regard to the scholarship and regional training funds. No discussion on any of them reports? No, keep moving then. Item 243, General Manager report. That the General Manager report as presented be noted. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Ryan Sykes, seconded Councillor Stringer. Put it to a vote, or any discussions on the matter? No discussion, put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Yeah, where are we up to? Here we go. Correspondence, item 244. That's for noting that Council resolved that the correspondence inward and outward as presented be noted. Any discussion on any of that correspondence?
Just through you, Mayor, the one that you sent to the CMT, General Manager, did you
With regard to the,
Mount Owen Cableway
yes,
proposal? Is that in light of where the proposal path might be? That's why you wrote to them about hoping that they'll be on board with it.
yeah, so there needs to be a tower installed on the mining lease, and at this stage CMT, or Vedanta, sorry, and New Century Resources are reluctant to release that land at this stage. So it's further discussions will be undertaken with regard to that with both New Century Resources and the proponent.
Just through you, Mayor, in relation to your letter to the West Coast Recreation Committee, you refer to the Maugean skate there as the great Australian animal. So I got a bit of feedback there saying that you probably overstated the relevance there, but could be a well-recognised quarry harm species with a great Australian animal. But anyway, that aside, looking at that letter there to Mrs Brown that you sent out, and also a letter to Mrs Thompson, both those contain some grammatical or spelling errors. My question is, are we in a position where we're so under-resourced as a council that we cannot assist the Mayor with his letter writing? Just going forward, I can witness the Mayor's under extra pressure with his duties, and at some stage we may look under some reform that the council may look at having a full-time mayor. But at the moment, are the resources there to support the Mayor fully in all the works that he does?
Look, yeah, I mean, we provide assistance to the Mayor.
Yeah.
Of course, every now and again, errors can slip through drafting processes. I think like any local government, it's not so much a matter of the resources that we have, but of the breadth and scale of the work that is required. To have additional staff members for proofing or writing letters would be great, but as far as I understand Council's position, we're not looking to increase the operational workforce budgets. But if that's changed, there's a range of staff roles that I would love to hire.
Look, interesting, just referring back to the fact that we've allocated some funds and went through a process of some training for marketing, for media, for media representation, so PR training we had. Might be good if we could assist the Mayor with some spell check training and grammar.
Any errors are most likely due to me in my office, so
Okay.
we do a fair bit of the drafting.
All right, it's interesting to see where those errors might pop up.
Can you
Just
highlight
want to
what the
support
errors
Mayor
were?
where we can.
Councillor, are you able to highlight where the errors are?
Yes, well, if I can get move on there. I will. Which letter are you referring to at the moment? I don't think we should
Let's Bay Jetties
see it.
and
What page
Ms Thompson.
I think that assistance, page 82.
I proofread these quite a few times and couldn't see a mistake. Just went.
Well, through you, Mayor, the only error I can see just off the top is just maybe the bay and the jetties missed a space between the two of them. But it reads, let's bay jetties.
I meet recently.
I meet Rich.
Okay,
Oh,
yes,
yes,
me,
right.
yes,
Without
okay.
nitpicking, it's there, but,
Yep.
and then Mrs Brown will also have an error there as well.
Oh, yeah. Dear Ms Brown.
Accessible in the headline was the error, which is strange,
Yep.
because the next line, accessible to spell correctly. But anyway, there it was.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
Taken on board. Be more vigilant with my
I'm being
proofing.
famous, man, for my English, correct English dialogue. It's just something I thought I might be able to assist you with.
Okay. Item 245, I think that's what we're up to. Yep. Correspondence. So correspondence to that, no other discussions on the matters of correspondence? It's for noting, so we'll keep moving. Item 245, report. The recommendation that the council provide an event grant of $2,000 to West Coast Heritage Limited for sponsorship of the Zern Gem and Mineral Fair. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Evans, seconded Councillor Ryan Sykes. Discussions on the matter.
Yeah, in moving that motion, Mayor, the event does attract a large crowd, and it's a high calibre event for the community of Zern, so I think supporting it as we have done in the past as a council, I think it's something that I feel endorse, and I'm sure most of the ratepayers would.
Any other discussions on the matter?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I endorse what Councillor Evans just said too.
No other discussion on the matter, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 246 is a report on the memorandum of understanding for the with State Emergency Service. The recommendation is the council note the report and approve the MOU to be signed and funding be released. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Ryan Sykes, second Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussion. Any discussion on the matter? Just got one point that if I can get clarified. Any assets that we may gain through grant funding, if given to a unit, if that unit folds for any reason, does that get moved around the other units? Yeah. And also in the summary, it's got Queenstown, Rosebery and Strawn units. It should be Zern, I'm guessing. Yep. Okay, we'll put it to a vote. If no other discussion on the matter, put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 247 is the council to move into the planning authority role. The recommendation is the council now acts as the planning authority under the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 in accordance with Regulation 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015. Someone like to move that way, please? Move to Councillor Shea, second to Councillor Newman. Okay, thanks, Councillor. Okay, any?
You've got to vote on the.
Oh, yes. So, all those in favour to move into planning authority role? Against? Carried. Okay. The recommendation is that the report by the planning officer dated the 28th of July 2022 concerning a minor amendment for DA 2021/89 be received and council approve the addition of the sewer service toilets and associated built form under approved roof line at Esplanade Strawn subject to following conditions. One is endorsed plans. Consent is for the proposed extension to the existing building and intensification of existing food services used substantially in accordance with endorsement documents as prepared by Alan Lawler, design and drafting project number 081621 dated the 5th of 7th 22.
You'll go and just say.
We'll say all of them because there's a heap of them. So all the recommendations there's 7 recommendations there. So we'll put it to, someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Evans, seconded Councillor Newman. Any discussions on the matter?
Yes, so through you, Mayor, just on the 5th recommendation there, works in waterways and coastal refuge area. Best practice guidelines in Westland Waterways Works Manual and guidelines in the Tasmanian Coastal Works Manual. Is there a version of that? I just wondered, is that version 2 or is that a manual that's just permanently the same manual year after year, these guidelines, or what's the trigger for that as a recommendation? Yes.
Through you, Mayor, I'm assuming it would have a version number if it was different editions, so I'd say what is written there is correct.
So, I mean, through you, Mayor, I mean, I'm happy with the recommendations. I just guess we do the most current version of those as.
So, as with all, with
Could I
conditions.
just comment firstly, the discussion here is only around the amendment. That condition is existing from the previously approved permit, so you can only actually discuss and approve the amendment, which is the addition of the toilets and the built form. So the previous conditions are there and they were approved with the first DA. So
And the conditions are largely standard to conditions that come from the planning scheme and the associated planning documents.
No worries, thank you.
No other discussion on the matter? Put to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
We can move out of the
Yep.
home rule.
Is that one closed session?
No, that's all, this is open.
So we'll do that before. Yep. Okay, item 249 is council to move out of the planning authority role. Recommendation that council moves from the role as a planning authority back into council. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Newman, seconded Councillor Stringer. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, we've got one late item report. Mental health comedy roadshow in kind. So the recommendation that council provide financial support to the value of $2,000 to Mood Mission for sponsorship of the mental health comedy roadshow events. I think there's 2 events, Queenstown and Strawn. Someone like to move that way, please. Move Councillor Ryan Sykes, seconded Councillor Butterfield. Open for discussion. Any discussion on the matter? No discussion on the matter? Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Okay, item 250, matters proposed for closed meeting. Council by absolute majority close the meeting as part of the meeting when certain matters are being, okay. Recommendation is that items 253 to 22 to 262/22 discussed by council in closed session. Someone like to move that way, please? Move Councillor Geraghty, seconded Councillor Evans. Put it to a vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We'll just wait till we